Disenchantment. A fantasy sitcom. But I'm not in a fantasy.
But it's created by Matt Groening.
So, I mean, look at what happened to The Simpsons. It's just kind of just there. I mean, it's fine enough, but it's just kind of like one of those things which is background noise by this point.
But Futurama ended good, didn't it?
I know, but, you know, do I really want to watch this and that? I mean, will I enjoy it? Will I be wasting my time on it?
Well, look, I can't answer everything.
Walking? Then you. I'm your sort of unsure side. Yeah. You might as well give it a go. You never know. Besides, you're on your lazy fat ass right now. Alright. Alright. I'll give it a fair chance. I'll watch the first 3 episodes, and then if it hasn't hooked me by that point, then I'll know not to bother watching the rest. Alright? I mean, it's not going to be like I'll watch all 10 episodes, you know, in the span of 2 days. Hello, and here we are again. And so, Disenchantment. Now, I remember the first time I actually heard about this, I was on holiday at the time. I was on holiday in Liverpool, and I just saw a massive advertisement of it, saying, from the creators of The Simpsons, Disenchantment. Notice they didn't mention Futurama. But yeah, this is a new show by Matt Groening, and I'm going to say this right off the bat, straight away. If you do not like any of Matt Groening's other work, for example, if you don't like The Simpsons and you don't like Futurama, if you do not like, that style of humour or style of storytelling sort of thing, then basically you're not going to like this. It is very different from The Simpsons and Futurama. However, it does have a lot of similarities as well. I'm going to put this in my pocket. But I'll get into that in a bit. This review is going to be constructed a bit differently because I'm not going to be going into so much detail on every single episode. Rather, I'm going to be reviewing the series more as a whole. Because this series, it seems like it can't really decide what particularly the way it wants to go. Because it is a Netflix show, and there are some advantages to that. For one, these episodes are actually half an hour long. No joke, they are actually half an hour. Like, not 20 minutes, not 23 minutes, not even 25 minutes, Each episode is normally around 27 to 29 minutes long. So you are getting that full half hour, which was really surprising. Because even shows like that are exclusive to Netflix, like BoJack Horseman, are normally 25 minutes long. So to actually get full half an hour episodes is surprising. In fact, the first episode is 35 minutes long. So you do sort of notice that extra time, and to be honest, they use it to their advantage. It means that they can do more stuff, and there's not pretty much a hurry to try and wrap everything up in the last couple of minutes. The plot can actually fulfill and take its time throughout, which, obviously is a really, really good thing. Apologies, got a bit of a cold at the minute, but that's a good thing. Also, the thing I was mentioning before is that with a lot of Netflix series and a lot of new animated series in general, they basically, every episode is just a direct continuation of where the last one left off, so it's serialized. Whereas obviously with Matt Groening's other shows, basically every episode is basically just a massive reset on whatever the previous episode was, you know. And this show kind of does a little bit of both, in the way that some episodes are just completely standalone ones, yet some are, you know, ongoing sort of story arcs. And to be honest, I quite like the way it goes, because to be honest, I think it has a nice little balance of basically, like, the first, you know, 2 episodes and that are, you know, continuing sort of the story and then a story arc, and then the last 3 episodes is basically just a long 3-part of the story arc. So, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I will have to talk about spoilers later on. No spoilers at the minute, but I will have to talk about some later on to properly dive into things. So I do like the way it does give balance, because sometimes with a lot of shows and that, it can feel like when every episode, you know, has to continue where the last one left off, it feels like they're just sort of dragging it along, you know. You're always generally with series like that, you feel like you've got an episode that is essentially just a filler one that goes nowhere. But with this, not so much actually. So I'm happy with that. Now, in terms of obviously the animation and the animated style, again, it's exactly the same as any other Matt Groening project. It's basically more similar to the style of Futurama. Now, I put off watching this for quite a while, and the reason is because I literally haven't. To me, it didn't seem like the thing I'd be interested in, because it's a lot more fantasy sort of stuff, and also it's set in, you know, the medieval sort of era, so, or the Middle Ages or whatever. But which, to be honest, I am not interested in the slightest. To be honest, that is not something I'm interested in at all. I'm into my sci-fi and also my TV dramas and that, and mixed media and stuff like that. But actually, watching it, I surprisingly enjoyed it. I didn't go out of my mind going, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. But I did enjoy it, and, you know, it's one of those shows, it's kind of like, in terms of enjoyment at the moment, well, it's better than modern Simpsons. Easily better than modern Simpsons. You know, you've got fresh and new ideas in there. And to be honest, I would say that if not everyone is going to love this, to be honest, and I don't particularly love it. I don't think it's going to be one of those shows that you're going to love. You know, it's not. I doubt it'll be your favourite TV show, and that's because, to be honest, it does bring a lot of things that have come up in the past. But I would say that this is solidly in the, say, it's good. You can watch and go, wow, I enjoyed that, though it might not be a thing that you want to, you know, you're desperate to go back and watch later on. It's one of those things you can watch it, have a good time, but not something, you know, you're desperate to go back to. I think that's the best way to sort of explain it. Also, the series has a little... The age range is a little bit odd, because it's not really an adult animated series. Even though there is, you know, sexual references and stuff like that, I wouldn't call it for adults. I wouldn't even call it for teenage. I would call it for, like, young teenagers. I would say that this is in the, 12 to 14 sort of where it's aiming. So, a little bit more adult than The Simpsons and Futurama, but not as adult as, say, Family Guy or South Park or something along those lines. So it's kind of like teetering in between, where it's just like, for example, there isn't any swearing in this at all. No swearing out, and sometimes you can clearly tell that a swear word was supposed to be put in there, but it feels like a couple of times they sort of like, and then sort of back down from a couple of things. So it kind of feels like it's sort of teeter-tottering on the bit of, well, we could make this just for adults, but, try and get out to a broader audience. So I would say, could children watch this? Well, yes and no, depending on their age. I would say that, if your child, I would say, around no younger than around 8 to 10, I would say, because there is obviously there's a lot of sex jokes and stuff like that. There's a few of them in there. So, I would say maybe not, but regardless, I'm going to get my notes out and have a look at what I've actually put. So I'm going to talk about the cast and which character they play. So we've got our main character Bean, and I'm just going to go through the plot synopsis because it changes throughout the episodes. Because the trailers would have you believe the series is all about one thing, but actually it isn't. So Bean is a princess in a kingdom called Dreamland, and she is played by what's her name, Abby Jacobson, and to be honest, her performance was fine. I would say I didn't find it as I didn't find her performance amazing. I didn't think her performance was decent enough. Maybe if I don't know if it's got a second season confirmed yet, or I imagine it will, but maybe give her more time in that. I think she could evolve in that. I think the problem is that Bean, there's not a huge amount to her character. I mean, she's a princess. She doesn't want to get married, at least not yet. She's an alcoholic, and she's pretty much like a typical sort of teenager. Like, I wouldn't say, like modern teenager kind of thing. She isn't unlikable, though. It sometimes does slightly teeter to being close to being unlikable at times. I never found her unlikable, but there are times where, the writing does push against the unlikable character mark. So, to be honest, I think she needed a bit more development, and I think, she probably will get more development later on. I think this first series is more about, the first season is about, establishing the characters and she does get fleshed out a little bit, although to be honest, from episode 1 to episode 10, she doesn't really change that much throughout. In fact, she's nearly the exact same person she was in episode 1 as she is in episode 10, so her character doesn't, particularly evolve in that much. She's basically the same person throughout. So, but I thought she was alright. She sometimes reminded me of Leela from Futurama, is the best kind of way to describe her. Also, the dialogue is a bit odd in this because it's never stated where, it's set in, what country it's set in. Now, I assumed that it probably was England, and the reason is because they say things like pub and basically, there's a lot of like, for example, the peasants and that speak in British accents, like medieval British accents. So, and so do obviously the main cast say British words, although the main cast have American accents. Basically, the main cast, are regulars and that. They all have American accents, but any of the peasants or any like one-off sort of characters, they all have British accents. So it's a little bit hard to tell. And also, despite the main cast saying, like Bean says, "Oh, I'm going to the pub," she also says the word "mom," Now, if to an American viewer, what's wrong with that? We do not say mom in the UK. We say mum or mam or mother, something along those lines, but we do not say mom. So, I don't know, the dialogue sort of like was a bit all over for having a consistent dialect throughout. So it was a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy. I'll say this though, that obviously it has the thing of getting away with, well, it isn't a real place, so maybe the dialect is just like that. So it does have that excuse that obviously it isn't a real place. This is a place where magical things and stuff exist. We then have Lucy, played by Eric Andre, who I thought he would be my favourite character, and I think he is he might be my second favourite character, or possibly third, but he plays Lucy, which is male. He is a male. He is Bean's personal demon. Basically, on the day of her wedding, or supposed wedding, but she doesn't actually get married. That isn't much of a spoiler, to be honest, because that was revealed in the trailer that she did not get married. And that is basically the first episode of her basically saying no to marriage. But that she finds, gets the gift, and it's Lucy, who's her personal demon, who is basically who basically is a manifestation of that little voice in your head. I mean, that's basically the synopsis they give, that Lucy is there basically to get Bean to do bad things, basically, like, saying stuff like, you should murder them, you should do this, and all these other bad things. And to be honest, he's decent enough, although a lot of the time the plot seems to forget about him, like, quite a lot. Like, there's a lot of the time where he's just sort of sidetracked, and when he does a pop-up and goes like, oh yeah, Lucy exists, and you kind of forget about that. So it is a bit odd, and also they never make it 100% clear what he can and cannot do, because since he is a demon, he has a few demon powers, but it's never fully established what he can and can't do. Like, he can walk through fire does not affect him, and that, but it isn't said, what does affect him, or if anything, so that is a little bit odd. He does actually get, surprisingly, he gets more character development than Bean, despite, being a bit off and on throughout the season. For example, he actually feels a bit of grief and sadness in the series towards the end, and I'll explain why later on, but he actually feels grief and sadness. Something that demons have never felt or never supposed to feel. He questions, just like, is this what it feels like? And he just goes, oh, I hate it. So I'll give them that. They did pretty good character development on him. Obviously, again, not a huge amount, but you know what? He actually does grow as more of a person. By the end of the season, he is still obviously his demon-y self, though he's a lot more mellow, let's say. And he, for example, at the start, like, he would basically was happy for Bean to basically die in the first episode. He's happy for her to jump off a cliff and for her to die. He's happy for that, but then later on throughout the season, he actually helps save Bean from, like, dangerous situations throughout. So it shows that, he does actually develop a connection with her. And with the other main of the trio, which is Elfo, played by Nat Faxon. Nat Faxon, I don't know if I'm saying that right. If I don't, I apologise. But Nat Faxon plays Elfo. Now, Elfo is easily my favourite character. And Elfo is an elf, or is he? Yes, he is, or is he? and that's where we'll go on to in a minute, because I'll have to start talking about spoilers. But Elfo is an elf, and he comes from a little elf farm in this magical enchanted sort of world where basically he doesn't conform to what a standard elf should be. Like, all the other elves are always happy and smiling and singing 100% of the time, and the only thing they eat are candy canes and sweets and stuff like that. That's the only thing they ever eat. Whereas Elfo is, despite the way he acts and the way he looks and even the way he talks, he is a bit of a horny git. He is very horny throughout. So, for example, in the first episode, he is caught trying to have sex with this other elf at the start. And basically, he is hanged for this. But unfortunately, he's just hanging there. He is choking a bit, and then eventually he decides he manages the girl he slept with cuts him loose, and he goes up to this massive drawbridge, and all the other elves say, no, we'll forgive you as long as you come back to our society and conform to our society. Just don't go through the gates into the rest of the world, basically, or the human world. But Elfo decides, you know what, fuck it. He goes out there, and he gets, out of everyone, he gets the most amount of character development in this. Because, for example, he starts, as soon as he goes out there, he walks into the middle of a battlefield, and he is completely oblivious, to how serious and that, and death is happening, people getting stabbed and that all around him. He's completely oblivious to it. And as the series goes on, he gets a lot more anxious, but also dangerous. And also, throughout the entire series, he's wanting to get his dick inside Bean. That is basically, he fancies Bean throughout the series, and it is made very clear and very obvious that he fancies Bean. Which, is a bit odd because, because obviously he is an elf and he's very short. And there's a lot of things going on in this, but regardless, I'm going to give the warning here, spoiler warning from now on. So that's all I can say about it without going into the plot. I'm going to have to go into the plot, and the plot is going to contain spoilers, so if you don't want to hear anything about spoilers, then Daddy, bye. Go on then. Shove off. Good, now let's actually talk to the rest of you. If actually anyone did actually leave, then well done. But we've got one of my favourite voice actors in this, John DiMaggio, who is playing King Zod, or Zog. King Zog, who is Bee's father. Now, Bee's mother supposedly died when she was very young. And King Zog has remarried by this one. He's being remarried for at least a decade or something. But King Zog is played by John DiMaggio. And to be honest, I think he might be my second favourite character in this, because he is every moment he is on screen, he is so funny and entertaining. To describe his voice, his performance, imagine he's basically John DiMaggio is doing his Wrath voice from Ben 10, only not as a less hyperactive and a more calmed down, quieter version, although he does get angry a lot in this. So that's how I can describe John DiMaggio's voice in this. But he is so entertaining throughout. And to be honest, throughout the series, you think, he's basically the typical man of the time, where he basically just ignores his daughter and he doesn't, understand or feelings and stuff like that. Though actually, later on it's revealed that actually maybe he does. But I'll get onto that later. Now, plot for the main plot for the season. Basically, B and sorry, Lucy bump into Elfo when Lucy when Bean is trying to escape her marriage, and then eventually basically they get brought back to the kingdom, and as soon as King Zog discovers that, oh, he's an elf, and elf blood can supposedly be like the cure of elixir or something along those lines and give you immortality, magic elf blood. Basically, that's why he decides to allow Elfo to stay within the castle and that can stay within the kingdom, because he wants to use his blood to basically... You think that he's trying to gain immortality for himself. Well, he is trying to get the immortality, but it isn't for himself. Again, I'll explain later. I've got to go in a straight line here. So that is basically them, and then he finally accepts that Being does not want to marry, this person to unite these kingdoms. So he accepts that, and you know what? Fair enough on him. Good on him. He actually did listen to his daughter and that. And he's not one of those fathers who seems like so ignorant and that. He just gets annoyed with Bean. And you know what? I can actually understand why. She gets drunk and disobeys him all the time. And Bean ruins a lot of things. Like some things will be going great for the kingdom and everything, and then Bean in a drunkenness ruins it. So I can understand, King Zog's his frustration over it. So I can understand that. So it did make me sympathise with him a bit and understand where he was coming from. So again, well done on that. Well done on that. So that's basically most of the plot for the season. Like in terms of the main sort of story arc kind of thing. And throughout the season, everything that, everything that they try and that, the Elfo's blood, unfortunately just doesn't keep working, It will not cause immortality no matter what. Until we get to episode episode 8. So basically it's they find out that the elf blood is not enough on its own. It's not enough on its own. So elf blood is not enough on its own to give someone immortality. They need, and I'm going to find out. I've got to have a look through my notes. See what I put. Come on. Yeah. Yes, they need a pendant, a special pendant. That's a magical pendant to put a drop of elf blood in there to give someone immortality. And you know what? They managed to get it. Yeah, they actually managed to get it. In episode 7, they go on a quest and they manage to get this little pendant. And this gives, is supposed to give the wearer of it immortality. Unfortunately, it doesn't work because, and here's the kicker why, Elfo is only half elf. He's not full elf. That's why the blood, and that doesn't work. That's why it hasn't been working throughout. He is only half elf. And actually, later on in the season, in the episode 9, Elfo actually goes back to the elf sort of kingdom thing, farm thing, with Bean and Lucy going after him as well. And he actually talks to his father, and his father will not talk about it. All he gives Elfo is some drawing that his real mother drew. Unfortunately, he only has time to open the half with his father on before he can open up the other side of this drawing where his mother will be. And I reckon his mother is going to be a troll or something along those lines. And the reason I imagine that is because Elfo is the only green elf. You know, he's all the other elves, you know, are mainly just flesh coloured, but he is obviously a green colour. I mean, he looks like, you know, any other elf, but obviously his skin is a different colour. So that's why I'm imagining it's a troll or something. It's going to be something green, basically. So Elfo is only half elf, and unfortunately, this is where we get to a bit where when I saw this, I was just thinking, did Matt Groening secretly look into the future and saw my reaction to Avocado and thought, I better do this? Yes. Oh. When a straight arrow hits Elfo in the back and he dies. Jesus Christ. First final space, which, by the way, at the time recording, I only watched Final Space for the first time I think it's about 3 weeks or something ago. So to have my grieving over Avocado and then have this. Oh, Matt Groening, you bastard. So yeah, spoilers for Final Space as well. Avocado dies in Final Space. But I've said spoilers from this point onwards, so that can relate to various things. But yeah, he dies. So it's just like, is this just a trend now? That in every TV show that I watch from now on, my favourite character will die in it? Is this just a thing? Because this is just... Seriously, this is a massive fucking coincidence. But, unlike Avocado, Elfo, he will come back. And the reason is because, again, massive spoilers, but in episode 10 and the finale, after the credits, we get a final scene where Elfo's body, which is falling into the sea by this point, two arms grab his corpse and pull it to shore. And they're two clearly female arms, and I reckon that they're probably mermaids, I reckon. By the way it, shows that, I reckon that they're mermaids. That's my personal guess on, but I reckon that they will most likely, revive him. Or, maybe he's given the immortality vial. Who knows? But we know that basically people can come back from the dead in this show, so obviously Elfo can come back. He can. So yeah, he will be back for season 2, no doubt. I mean, otherwise I doubt they would have bothered putting that tease in at the end, and also the fact that he dies at the end, in episode 9 of 10, and that. So yeah, he'll be back. Now, again, major spoilers. We're going to talk about Bean's mother. Now, basically when Bean is at her lowest point in episode 9, after obviously Elfo is dead, and that and it is a hard scene, to watch. It's just thinking, such a character who was so very full of life. It's getting that. I mean, it didn't bring me to tears or anything, but it's just like, no. But the thing is, the way he dies, and at the point he dies, like I said in Fast Space Review, like the point where he dies at the end of episode 9, you know he's going to come back. You know it is. So basically, the death means a lot less, because the way it's set out, it's clear that, yeah, he'll be back. But anyway, King Zog, obviously Ghost could confront Zog. Ghost could confront, obviously, being his daughter and that, and, you know, to try and comfort her, and she just turns to him and says, it's all your fault. You know, everything is your fault. And technically, indirectly, it is his fault, because King Zog was the one who sent these knights off to try and get, a pure elf, a 100% elf, back to the kingdom, and that's why they were firing arrows to try and get one of the elves back. Unfortunately, the arrows unfortunately hit our lovely elf though. So, Bean is pretty much just pissed off with him. Also, if you can hear something in the background, that is my dog. He's just walked off with something he probably shouldn't have. But regardless, we will continue. So yeah, it's a scene of confrontation. But in this scene, King Zog reveals that this statue of her mother is not actually a statue of her mother. Her mother didn't actually die, but was turned to stone. And he said the reason is because when Bean was little and that, basically they had some wine. They shared some wine together. And Bean, when her parents and that weren't looking, was spinning around and constantly switching around the wine glasses for reasons. And unfortunately, it ended up Zog and that was supposed to receive the poison rather than Bean's mother. Unfortunate, but Bean's mother accidentally drinks the poison in this wine, and she gets turned stone. And then Bean has to have a really hard choice, because in her pocket she finds a handkerchief that has a single drop of real elf blood, because of earlier on she accidentally cooks an elf and dabs a bit of blood onto her tissues and stops them bleeding. And there's only one drop, and it's a choice where it's just like, who do I save? And the thing is, when you're watching it, you think she's going to save Elfo. And it's established in this episode that Bean and Elfo have known each other for 3 months. So in this first season takes place over 3 months. Is that how long it takes? And she kisses him, and then she actually revives her mother. She brings her mother back to life, which was a surprising thing, and to be honest, quite a mistake, because her mother is a bit of an evil bitch. It was revealed that, again, spoilers again, she was the one who put the poison in the wine glass. Yeah, it wasn't some random assassin in that. No. It was her. And the thing is, we don't know why. And it's in this final episode, it's basically setting up plot points for season 2. The finale of this is basically setting up a load of plot points for season 2. Basically, there's this whole thing like, she keeps saying, being your destiny is, it's all about your destiny, I can teach you, what you can achieve, and some random bollocks. And that, to be honest, half the time you don't know whether she's actually telling the truth or not. But, it is just a point of, what? Because you don't know what the hell is happening. You don't know what she wants. You don't know. Because the thing is, you don't actually know if she... The thing is, you don't know whether she is just absolutely evil and insane or something like that, or whether... Because there's two ways to look at her character. Either she's doing this as, you know, as the point of view of the ends justify the means, or she's just frankly evil. You know, which is she? We don't know yet. It's hard to fully see. But she does do something, though, that kind of makes me think that, yeah, she's in the evil camp. Basically, Being's mother makes up this concoction, this magic concoction, which flows a massive purple sea, and anyone who touches it, this, you know, massive purple sea, turns to stone. And this purple sea, you know, floods the entire kingdom, and everyone gets turned to stone. The only characters who do not get turned to stone is King Zod, who manages to hang on to a gargoyle to avoid, you know, getting turned to stone. Lucy at this point, we can assume is captured because early in the season, basically there was this exorcist specialist who was able to capture him earlier on in the season, and basically you hear him being captured off screen, so I'm assuming it's the same person. So I'm assuming Lucy is probably captured, though you don't know because it happens off screen. When I say off screen, I don't mean, you know, it's hinted at or spoken about. No. You hear, you see Lucy walking through the castle, and he turns around a corner and he says, "Oh shit, it's you," and you know, you hear a thump, and it sounds like him being placed into a bottle. So I'm assuming that's what happened to him. Bean and her mother and that are perfectly fine. They actually get onto a boat where you see some weird sort of mythical sort of creatures. You know, so they're fine. And obviously I've already mentioned what happens to Elfo, so yeah, that's it. And the season, that's where it all ends. That's where the season ends. And the title of the episode is called Dreamland Falls. Very similar to another title of an episode of a TV show from a TV show that's yeah. I wonder what that TV show could be. Something Falls. But yeah, I mean, it's clearly going to have a second season. The way it's paced and the way, you know, obviously it has a cliffhanger end. It feels like every, you know, TV show, animated TV show that is, you know, even remotely, you know, geared towards outside. In this one, obviously, I've said the spectrum is a bit wobbly at best. But basically, it feels like every TV show, if it has any continuous story arc, even elements to it, it has to have, you know, a cliffhanger finale. Every TV show now, every season of a TV show seems to have, like American animated TV shows, feel like they have to have sort of a cliffhanger sort of finale. All the new ones, at least. And I think the reason, I mean, a lot of TV shows do this, and I think Sherlock was probably the one who kicked this off with X. You know, if you have a cliffhanger finale, people are going to be wanting to come back. It happened with Rick and Morty season 2. It happened with the Final Space season 1 finale. And it happens with every BoJack Horseman season finale. Things are set up for a new season, and obviously now it's happening with this. So clearly there is going to be a season 2, and which will most likely drop, you know, next year, I'd imagine. So yeah, that was Disenchantment, and I enjoyed it. I would give it. If I was to give it a rating out of 10, I don't normally like to do this. Excuse me. If I was to give it a rating out of 10, you know, just to see, I would give it probably a 7, although that means absolutely nothing. but just in terms of a scale to balance it on, I would say it's definitely worth giving it a watch. And I would say if you are going to watch it, watch at least the first 3 episodes, because the first episode, the thing is, half of the time I was thinking, am I really enjoying it? Is it worth carrying on? And by the time, I did question myself a few times during those first couple of episodes. Should I really carry on with this series or not? Is it, is it really going to be my thing? But once I, watched the first 3 to 4 episodes, I was hooked on it, and I watched the full thing. So I'd say, yeah, go ahead, go watch it. It's on Netflix in the UK and the US. At the same time. Yeah, Netflix knows how to do things. Why have something be delayed for, months or even years in another country when it's, available on an online server? Just have it available immediately. So yeah, it's available in the UK and the US. And other countries, presumably, as well. But yeah, just give it a go. Just give it a go. Obviously, if you don't like Futurama and The Simpsons or any other Matt Groening projects, then you're not gonna like this. But if you do like other Matt Groening's other work, then you're gonna like this. That's all I can basically say about it. It's an enjoyable time. I enjoyed it while it lasted, and I am looking forward to the next season. Though I will say this. It's not one of those things where I have to know now what's going to happen next kind of things. Because it just doesn't seem to have that edge of, holy shit, what the hell's going to happen next? It does, because the thing is, the show is technically already giving you possible answers, because since magic exists within this universe, there are witches, in the Disenchantment universe. No matter what, there's always going to be a way out of anything. And I think that's its biggest problem. There's easily, a way to resolve this. There's easily a way out of it. So, that is basically my final words on Disenchantment. So let me know what you thought of it. Let me know in the comments below. And if there's anything you'd like me to review in the future, let me know, I guess. I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye. Here we go again, people. Alpha! Okay, I'm over it. He's clearly gonna come back. He's gonna come back. Like, this is something I'm 100% positive on. So what's the point in even grieving in the first place? I'm gonna go get some Iron Blue. Oh, fuck me ankle.